Right, hello everybody, and Tijjani Reijnders is a Manchester City player, probably by the time this video goes out. So then, what is a Tijjani Reijnders? What does he do? Why has Pep Guardiola gone out and immediately bought him after Kevin De Bruyne left? And how much doubt is there in my mind that I'm saying that name correctly? Because it's not none. Alright, so obviously forgot to do any introductions there. Hello, Adam Clery, the Adam Clery football channel. How was my holiday, you ask? Yeah, fine, moving on. So Tijjani Reijnders. He is a Dutch central midfielder. He is 26 years of age. He is literally named Tijjani after the Nigerian winger Tijjani Babaniga. No, really. And he has been a mainstay in the AC Milan engine room since he arrived 2 years ago. Now that's obviously the Wikipedia stuff. The football side of things is far more interesting, because you can see here from his seasonal heat map, which is literally like the tracking of every single place he popped up and did things, all of last season, that he favours this left-hand channel, but crucially is capable of recognising the game sufficiently to pop up both on the other side and indeed much deeper. Now this area here in particular is very interesting because it makes it look like he's more of an attacking midfielder, but he started the bulk of his games for Milan last season as part of a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1. He was basically playing as a left-sided number 6, but also playing as a left-sided number 8. Now, just any Milan fans watching, yeah, I know it's not always a 4-2-3-1, sometimes it's 3 at the back and it moves around, but the point is, there are normally at least 4 far more attacking players ahead of him, and yet he's still doing the bulk of his work in the final third. But what is yet interesting further, which is admittedly not great English, is that despite starting as one of these sitting number 6s, he does no defending. These are his numbers for last season, and he could not be less interested in disrupting the opposition, winning the ball back, blocking passes, blocking shots, recovering the ball. This is a level of sporting disinterest I reserve for cricket. So then, you will note I have expertly posed the question: if he is a defensive midfielder that offers you nothing in the way of ball recovery, what does he offer you? Well, Tijjani Reijnders is a machine, a ball progression machine, a line-breaking, ball-progressing machine. And as profiles go in football, those are pretty much the hardest thing to go and buy after like 30 goal-a-season strikers. Last season in Serie A, Reijnders successfully broke the opposition's defensive line, i.e. he played the ball in between defenders and actually found a teammate, more than any other player. He was also in the top 10 out of like hundreds upon hundreds of players that successfully broke the midfield line as well. His weight of pass, his precision, it's about as good as you will find anywhere in Europe currently. And that's pretty much why Milan play him in this sort of deeper role when you'd think he'd be slightly further up, because this proximity to his defenders, to his goalkeeper, to his own area means he's the first pass they can find out when they build out. He's got just crazy good natural balance and awareness of what's going on around him, and he uses that to get turned and then finds the little gaps to progress the play into the next line of the pitch. Or even, quite often, like just much further up the pitch. Like the guy has several clubs in his bag and every single one of them says, "Eat this, bitch." Now, Opta, and my God, thank you for this, Opta, made this little graph of all the line-breaking passes he made last season in a very recent write-up they did about him, and holy moly. Again, just like the heat map, and I'll just do them both for a second so you can see what I'm talking about, there is this favouring of this sort of left-hand channel in the final third. But again, just like the heat map, there is the awareness and the ability and the game management to pop up more or less everywhere, the other side, deeper, and do it from those positions if that's what the game requires. Now, just to be balanced about all of this, if there's one slight area of concern I would have looking at this, and I don't know if you can see it, I don't know how it's going to come out on screen, but if you look, right, despite virtually all of these passes starting in these sort of central areas here, you could see the bulk of them end up in slightly wider areas here. They're not really incisive in the middle. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not bad inherently. Like, for a team like Man City, any pass that breaks a line, when you so often come up against really deep, really settled defenses, is ambrosia from heaven. But it does mean that going out wide instead of central does sort of limit his numbers creatively. Now, quite possibly that's because at Milan he's got Christian Pulisic, João Felix, Rafa Leão, Theo Hernandez, all players who either occupy these wider areas or, when they do start central, like to drift out to them to get on the ball, and that's just where the openings tend to be. But if we refine this down further, and my God, Opta, how do I not owe you money for this stuff, to just the line-breaking passes that broke the defensive line, so got right in between and into these areas, killer balls, as your dad might call them, right? You'll see there's virtually none that finish in this, like, area of maximum goal-scoring opportunity, which I'm like 50% sure is a real term, but you know what I mean, like between the width of the post, where most goals are scored from. They tend to be either side of that. And again, that's not a direct criticism of him necessarily. It's more a byproduct, I think, of how Milan play, but it just means it's best to think of him as a player who opens up defenses, who unpicks the lock, but isn't necessarily the one creating the chances. There tends to have to be another pass in that move before something happens. Thus, if we look at his numbers compared to deeper midfielders, so like the central or defensive lads where he plays, the creation numbers look absolutely incredible. Like, there aren't really any sixes capable of doing what he does in the final third, and there's barely any that even get into those areas in the first place. But then we take those exact same numbers and we hold them up next to the attacking midfielders, like the number 10s, the inside forwards, the players occupying the same zones he is, and they don't look anywhere near as impressive. So, like, you look at that and you would say he's not in any real danger of immediately replacing what it is they're going to lose with the departure of Kevin De Bruyne. But I would like to point out that when De Bruyne first went to Man City, he got like 9 assists in that first season, but then that summer, Guardiola arrived at the club, began working with him, and he doubled that to 18. So I would say, gun to my head, Man City are not buying him because of these numbers now, but probably what they think they can turn those into. But my dear, dear friends, if that implies, I'm losing my balance, that he is a project player, he is not. He is here for the today and the tomorrow. He already possesses a very particular skill that Manchester City are absolutely crying out for, and that I think will see him viewed as an immediate starter come next season. Ball carries, or just like, yep, running with it. His technique in this regard is absolutely superlative. His close control, the way he protects the ball, the timing he has, and his ability to slow down his runs and speed them up at exactly the right moments. It is not an exaggeration to say he is one of the most effective and incisive ball carriers in all of Europe. And I'll prove that. So for the nerds like me, if we look at the data, you take the top 5 leagues across Europe, so yes, even the Prem, and we look at ball carries into the final third. Out of 2,708 players who kicked a ball in anger in the top 5 leagues, he ranks 4th, putting him in the top 0.1%. He is better at doing this thing, this genuinely vital thing that football teams scour the friggin' earth looking for players who have the skill set of which to do it, whatever the correct way of saying that is. He is better than 99.9% of Europe's elite players. That's... And just in case you're wondering, oh, but do Man City really care about that? Because different teams have different priorities and stuff. Let's just go back to the little chart there, right? Oh, well, look, there's Josko Vardiol, signed 2 seasons ago. There's Jeremy Doku, signed 2 years ago. Savio, Grealish, all in the top 100 for this thing. We think of Manchester City as a very slow, very patient team, because they are most of the time. But Pep Guardiola absolutely in recent years recognises the need to force the issue like this, to go out and buy players who have this carrying ability. That's why they've got now 5 of the top 100 players in the world doing it. But now, dear chums, we get to the really interesting bit, right? Because it's not this running with the ball that makes Reijnders such a good pickup for City, and indeed such a good player. It's what he does without the ball. And if I only had 10 seconds to show someone what classic Reijnders looked like, it would be this. So first off, he does not win the ball here. We've been through it. He isn't a tacklesman, but he does get there ahead of the other player and successfully protect it. He turns his body, he keeps his balance, he executes a technically perfect little two-touch, which if, like me, you did those remember when you were young and you went to the football development courses in the UK, the two-touch was the only skill they ever really let you learn, hence why at this big age it's the only one I can still do. He does that right here very well. And he gets away with the ball purely through his supreme control of it. That's the crucial thing about this first part of the clip. It's not strength and it's not pace. He just gets there first, and his body shape, his position, the stuff you do up here, that's what lets him keep the ball. And I think most players, knowing that the next challenge is coming in from this direction and with the ball on this foot, they turn away from that and roll it to the defender here. And don't get me wrong, that feels like a negative instinct to have when you've got the attacker here, but given the ball's on this foot, it's very easy for the defender to get a leg out and block that. So you take the smart option, you turn, you get it back to a teammate, and he can still, if he wants to, then find that direct pass down the line. I think that's the intelligent thing to do. But instead, Reijnders, because he's a special boy, takes this extra touch with his weak foot to protect the ball again, and now, with it on the other side and safe from an interception, he then drops it off to Rafa Leão himself. And this is where it gets super, super interesting, because go and look at this man's head the second he plays that ball. Bang! He's looking upfield. There is a gap here, and both of the defenders involved in said gap are now occupied, and that, to him, smells of opportunity. And you'll admit already, for a number 6 sitting in a pivot in a deep midfield position, this is quite unusual. You wouldn't see Rodri do this, for example. But Reijnders does his best to not just keep up with Leão, but to be an option ahead of the ball for him. They get into the box and he looks again. Abraham is up with play, but he's not currently an option here, which is the most likely place a goal is going to come from. So what does he do? He changes direction, he goes and fills that space himself, and look what the reward is. This ball, the pass that's coming in from Leão is on this line here, so it absolutely was going to go to Abraham, but this defender would have cut that out. But instead, because of the sort of player that Reijnders is, he wants to do his running without the ball as well as with the ball. So he looks to get beyond the centre forward, looks to get beyond the midfielders in front of him and really take advantage of coming from deep. And he gets his reward. The ball gets to him here. He takes a great touch and he just lashes it in. And if you're watching that going, that's funny, that really reminds me of Ilkay Gundogan when he was at his absolute best, then yeah. Yeah, it should. They profile incredibly similarly. Why can't I say that? But if you should be taking anything away from this move, it's that at no point in it do the opposition seem to know who should be picking him up. It's really difficult to defend a run that comes from that deep and is that aggressive and ambitious with where it's going to go. And Reijnders absolutely loves doing this. He got 15 goals from a deep midfield position for a misfiring Milan side. That is his main weapon he has, and City will absolutely want to use that. I've got absolutely no idea at this stage, how Man City are going to line up next season. Alt-Nouri makes me think it'll still be a back four, but Shirky makes me think it'll be way more fun. But you stick someone like Reijnders in a pivot with someone like Rodri, and you just allow him to carry both the ball and himself up the other end of the pitch, and you will, what do the kids say? You'll be cooking. You'll do some cooking. Who let my man cook? I think that's it. But the obvious downside to this decision, just to be as balanced as I can here, is to go back to those defensive stats. Now, just like the other things, I think that's a product of how Milan play. They don't want him doing any of that, but he will need to up that defensive contribution in the Premier League. You can't afford to carry somebody like that in that position. So that's the challenge for them. Can they let him still do the things he wants to do and slightly refine it at the top end of the pitch, but also get that boy in the gym, get that dog in him somehow, because if he adds a bit more steel into that mix, whoo, that's a scary, scary midfield base. But anyway, yes, there you go. Turns out I can still do these videos after a week off. I hope you did enjoy it, though. Please let me know if you're a Man City fan. What do you make of the Reijnders signing in the comments below? And if you're Dutch, and only if you're Dutch, please let me know how close I've gotten the pronunciation. I've only ever seen it written down. You can also get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, Clery. I forget what side I put the thing on. And oh God, we're so, just 100,000 subs, like right there. It's next door. So please, if you haven't subscribed to us already, do that and join us next time, because it's gonna be a hell of a summer for transfers, this, and we will be covering your team. Bye. Love you, etc.